And let's talk more about these banks because, of course, they were famed for loaning and investing in technology companies. But how sound are many of these investments? And what is the current state of the tech sector? Well, let's speak to technology expert Dan Sodergren, who joins us now. Dan, I'm reminded of the dot-com era in the late 1990s when the internet became big and investors just started throwing money at all these internet startups. And when you look at the valuations of some social media companies, for example, now Twitter being a good example, they don't seem to match the reality that many of these tech companies are struggling to make a profit.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We've got to be careful, of course, with words when we talk about tech sector struggling, because if you actually looked at what happened during the pandemic, you saw a huge rise in lots of these companies and the amount of people they started to employ. So, of course, post-pandemic, when the world kind of changes what's going on, don't get me wrong, the remote work revolution is still here and people are hybrid working, etc. But I know the massive valuations of tech companies were sometimes based on the market getting a bit too excited and overvaluating them. And of course the old say, the cookies have come home to roost or whatever, or the chickens have come home to roost now, it seems. So sometimes when they've overemployed people or overhired on their balance books, they're now having to readdress that. But I don't think we can say the tech sector is in any way weak. It's just not as superhumanly strong as people thought it would be during the pandemic.
I guess you're referring to Meta there in particular, which owns Facebook. It's cutting 10,000 jobs. Why is that?
Well, I couldn't tell you exactly the ins and outs of Mark Zuckerberg's mind, but I do know that Meta, when Facebook changed its name and all these other things, they are going heavily into the metaverse, and I wouldn't think that was the best thing they could have been doing. And it most probably was a little bit too early. They most probably went a little bit too early on that particular piece of technology. And I don't think their VR headsets and all these other things that they thought were going to take over the world, of course, have done so, because people have suddenly realised that the real world's quite a nice place to be when we're not in a pandemic. And with coronavirus around, people are most probably spending more time outside and enjoying themselves. So maybe that's the reason why virtual reality didn't take up as much as they thought it would do. But we certainly, the next bit of technology, which is AI, which is around the corner and happening right now, that is so exciting that you can most probably not worry too much as a tech company, because you've suddenly got this capacity where artificial intelligence can make people and make your coders almost superhuman in what they can do. The productivity levels can be a lot higher. So maybe Elon Musk, even though he did it in the wrong way, maybe he knew it was coming around the corner, and so he was thinking, well, I can get rid of half my people because we're not going to need them because we're going to use AI. But again, I'm just speculating in that bit, because it seems to be a bizarre coincidence that artificial intelligence has just exploded at the same time as tech companies are getting rid of people.
Yeah, let's talk more about AI. Jeff Dalton also joins us. He's Glasgow University's School of Computing Science Department. Jeff, I mean, all the focus now is on AI. Is that going to cause a big shock to the system? We've had this sort of social media era, companies doing well out of that, but is this going to be the big disruptor, do you think?
I do think this is really going to be a significant